Israelis today, 2/3 of them believe that Israel should give territories to the Palestinians to establish a Palestinian state for peace. 2/3 of them. So that legacy is still there. However, the same size of the population, 2/3 of the Israelis, believe that it will not happen, at least not in their lifetime. Unfortunately, Netanyahu, Prime Minister Netanyahu, said last week, forever. Namely, the war is going to be an endless war. Most people think it will not happen during their lifetime. So you see such a dramatic impact of the political power that took over after the assassination, who were in the first place against the Oslo Agreement. And therefore, most Israelis are in despair. They don't trust the Palestinians. They think that there is no partner. The same applies to the Palestinians. They think that there is no partner on the Israeli side. And we are stuck in a terrible state of affairs. Why do I mention the territories and the Palestinians? Because this is the core of the issue. It's the core of the issue. The reason that Peres wanted to make peace with the Arabs, argued those who were against him, is that because he wants to make Israel part of Europe, and that the Israelis will marry Europeans and will lose their Jewish identity. These were articles published in newspapers by the nationalist clericals. Others thought that Israelis will marry Arabs and will disappear. And the assassin in his interview in the police, and I read 1,000 pages of the interview for the book that I wrote 10 years ago, said something which at first I didn't understand. He said, I came to the square and I saw the people in the square and all were Arabs. He said to me, what is that? Why Arabs? There were very few, if at all, Arabs there. For him, people on the left, those who want to give back territories, are Arabs, are enemies of Israel. So it is the issue of peace is really the top of the very wide pyramid that has many other aspects. And therefore, when in the public opinion polls that I mentioned to you earlier, that was done 2 weeks ago, people were asked about Rabin's legacy. 30% say there was no legacy. No legacy. 11 said, if there was a legacy, I don't know what it was. And only a third said that the peace was the legacy of Rabin. The effort done by the present political leadership is to focus mainly the democratic means, the democratic procedure, and the unity of the people, and not beyond that. But the two camps are there, and they continue to fight. And
but is that very, very different from the Democratic-Republican clash? I mean, the issue.
And how?
Exactly. No, it's not. If you look at just as this campaign, but at the moment I'm really enjoying it. It's like the best show in town at the moment. So I'm sure you're enjoying it as well. I hope you're enjoying it because it's not so happy, right? I think in many, many ways there are similarities. Only the challenges, and also the challenges in scale, are not that different. The challenges of the Israeli society, the challenges of the American society, again, due to scale, due to diversity, due to the fact that we're speaking about a huge country and Israel the size of New Jersey, it makes it much more, it turns the turmoil so much worse. Whereas in America, you are able to control it more than you would be able to control it in Israel. But if you look at what's happening in Europe, if you look at the social processes the world is going through, if you would go to fundamentalism without looking just at Israel and the crazed people that we have there, and we do have crazed people there. Some of them. But do they depict and do they define the society in Israel? I think not. And that is, by the way, one of our most important missions to make sure that they do not be the only ones defining what is Israel's about. And I agree with you. If you would say it's very, very difficult, and if you would say it's challenging, I would probably agree completely.
The major difference between the United States and Israel is very simple. You have a constitution, and whoever argues based his arguments on the constitution. This is the foundation of the commonality. Israel does not have a constitution. You know, when the Declaration of Independence was written in 1948, before it was prepared, there was a major question whether to add God to the Declaration of Independence or not. The seculars, led by Mapai, said, of course not. We are the Zionist movement. It was a secular movement. The religious Jews in Europe did not want to support most of them support the Zionist movement. So God should not be mentioned in the Declaration of Independence. The religious party said, how can we establish the new state without thanking God for that? So they called for 2 weeks, and then they found a solution, which is typical Israeli solution. They found a term that everybody will be happy. And instead of writing God, they said the Rock of Israel. For the secularists, the Rock of Israel is the spirit of Israel, it's history of Israel, whatever you want to find there. For the religious people, it's God. But today, there are two contradictory concepts. Whether the book of laws is the origin, whether the Israeli people are the sovereign, or whether the Bible is the book. I'm not talking about extreme clerics like Rabbi Kahana, or some people who are members of Knesset today, who hope that the Knesset will be dissolved and Israel will be a theocracy.
And some of them want to rebuild the third temple.
That's right.
But they are not, but again, they are heard, they are loud, they are, as you said earlier, they are louder than the others, but they are not depicting, they are not the ones describing and determining the way that we are or want to be. And of course there is a big argument whether the halacha is the reigning book of law of Israel. That is because, you know, in Israel, and of course we don't have a constitution, and we also have a parliamentary system that is beginning to resemble the Senate, which is a problem for a parliamentary system, because parliamentary system is built on the clash between opposition and coalition. This is not, you know, we are not a presidential regime. And yet, and of course I'm concerned about these voices, I'm not happy about them, this messianical kind of atmosphere. But I do not believe that they are the ones depicting Israel, and they will not, you know, the Hebrew law has an effect on the Israeli law. You can see in resolutions by the Supreme Court, you can see it's like we're inhaling some of the Hebrew law into our personality, into our DNA. But it is not, except for, and that is a problem, except for marriages and divorces, in which it is the reigning law most of the time, unless you're able to rush and get to the civil court, and that is an issue. Otherwise, this is not the reigning law. And although these voices, these messianical voices, are loud, unfortunately, the world, all the Western world, is suffering from the same kind of voices, dealing or advocating for other issues. Be it the Muslims, be it ISIS, be it whatever you like. Am I allowed to say Adventists here or not? I don't know.
So you have now two positions, one left of center, that's my definition. One left of center and the other one center. What we should have had is someone from the right, who are now in power in Israel, to present to you their point of view. They would have told you that things have improved in the last 20 years, dramatically improved. Things are wonderfully good. Well, we have more settlers, more settlements, we are stronger militarily, the economy is fantastic. What are you talking about? It's ridiculous. If you invite the Israeli ambassador, this is the position that he will put to you, that things are much better than they used to be. And if you ask these people after all, if we're not going to solve the issue, Israel will not be able to control millions of Palestinians forever, and it will have to decide whether to be either a democracy or a non-Jewish state. The answer will be the following. Many years ago, the rabbi in a small village in Poland was called to the rich, paritz, to the rich man, to the landlord. And the landlord told him, I'm fed up with you, take your people and leave. The rabbi was in a shock. What did we do wrong? We've been here, loyal servants of yours for 500 years and you kick us out? What? Why is that? I don't want to argue with you. Go back to your people, tell them to pack and leave. The rabbi thought, and he saw that the landlord had a dog, so he told him the following. He said, I'll tell you what, if you want us to leave, okay, please give me a month. And during that month, I will teach your dog to speak Polish. If I will be successful, keep us. If I will fail, we will leave. It's only a month. Interesting proposal, so he said, okay, do that. The rabbi came back to the community, and they asked him, so what happened? He told them the story. And they said, Rabbi, what is that? How can you teach a dog to talk to Polish? So the rabbi answered, a month is a long time. Either the dog will die, or the landlord will die. We'll see. That's the answer that people on the right in Israel tell you when you tell them about the problem of Israel as democracy in a Jewish state. What will happen in 10, 15, 20 years? Elohim Gadol, God is big, either the dog will die or the rabbi will die, or somebody else will die, and we'll see what will happen. And this is the major conflict today that really takes place in Israel. And you have 8 million Israelis, so I guess you have 16, 17 or 18 different positions. Shall we let them ask us questions?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Yes, please.
Is it not a problem, the fact that you have a coalition kind of government, that a minority group are able to dictate, because of the coalition issue, that they speak or have much more power than the majority? Is that not an issue?
Our system is problematic. Our system, what has happened, that is very much due to Rabin's assassination and to polarization in Israel, but also in other places that I see in the world. The fact is that we have become fragmented, and what happens is that you have more parties than you are able to actually, what happens is that you are basically extorted always by a smaller part, a smaller fraction of that government. So our system is not very, I don't think it is serving the best of the Israeli society. The only one time that I have ever been able to agree with Prime Minister Netanyahu, every now and again I have this kind of mornings that I wake up and I agree with him, but they're very rare. But there was once that I remember specifically, when he decided to go on these elections, he said that he could not rule, that he wasn't able to execute his own policy. And I agreed with him. I thought it was a major problem. So what happened now, of course, the Zionist Union is very much pushed to go into government to be, again, to kind of give him legitimacy, or, create like a more center-right rather than right-wing kind of government. And I disagree with that. I say, let them rule. Let them rule. Let us see what they are able to provide for the Israeli people, what they are able to achieve. I don't know about Israeli politics. I cannot say that will not happen. Perhaps, I don't know, perhaps something big happens and the Zionist Union decides to join the government. But basically, the way the government is formed in Israel in past years, I would say the past 15 years mainly, it is very challenging to actually be able to execute any kind of policy.
Are you for your parties joining the coalition?
No, I said I said it very clearly and very loud that I am not for national unity this time around, because even though we got 24 mandates and Netanyahu got 30 mandates, and actually the right did not grow in these elections, I say, if they know what they're doing, That's a good thing, you know. I want the best for Israel. If they know what they're doing and it's being for the best of Israel, why do we need to help them? They do not need our help. The problem is that I think that Netanyahu needs, first of all, he needs a bigger government because it's easier to rule. At the moment, he has a majority of one. Okay? He has 61 members of the coalition. And that's very, very challenging to run your coalition that way. On the other hand, why should we be, if he doesn't let us, if we cannot influence, really influence the policy, then what would we be
But that
doing
small
there?
minority seems to be having an enormous effect on the majority.
If you compare the Israeli case to the British or American, you'll see that there are some very important advantages to our system. You have two basic principles. Representativeness on one hand, and efficiency on the other hand. The Israeli government are much more representative of the people. First of all, not 30% participate in the elections, but 70–80%. And B, the government always represents the majority. In your case, in the British case, or in other cases where you have two-party system or majoritarian system, the government not always represents the majority. And that was established during the Zionist period, before the establishment of the state, because the founders of the Zionist movement thought that the leaders should really represent the majority of the people. So it has some advantage.
Yes,
And it has some advantages. It weakens the capability of the government to govern.
to actually govern. And
But let me just add one sentence to that. There is a built-in problem in this structure because 20% of the Knesset are considered non-kosher to govern. I'm talking about the Arabs. They are considered, that 20% of the population in Israel are considered not legitimate partners in the coalition. That weakens automatically the left-wing camp. The right-wing camp became stronger since 67 and particularly since 73, when the religious parties that were independent in the middle between the two major parties, left and right, joined the right wing. So today you have a nationalist, clerical, strong group. And the left, center and center-left are weakened because 12, 13, 14, 15, whoever, number of members of Knesset cannot be considered legitimate. Rabin, by the way, was the first prime minister who looked at it differently. It has to do with what I said earlier. Are there legitimate members of the collectivity or not?
they're opposing us, I think that the Arab Knesset members, this particular Knesset, because they are in the joint list, they're opposing us, who believe in real cooperation, and real coexistence with the Arab Israelis. They're opposing us with many, many challenges, but I think we should maybe take another question.
Follow up to your statement, no constitution, and for those who are believers, the Bible is their constitution. Taking out of the context of the right, the left, the mid-right, the mid-left, politically, if you believe, quote, the Bible is my constitution, this is what I want to do based on the Bible. Is there the political ability within Israel, the Israeli government, to say, no, you can't have it here? If there is basically a social insurrection, not military, a social insurrection, to say, this is what it is, this is what I believe, do me. Are you going to throw all of me in jail? How can the Israeli government and the Israeli people deal with that type of mentality? And basically, it is an insurrection.
Here I will be even more firm than Ayelet is. It can be done.
How?
The number of proposals put in the Knesset the last 3 years towards that direction that did not pass through is tremendous. Tremendous. The new deputy foreign minister told the diplomats when she got in, how many, 3 months ago?
No.
They
6 months ago.
6 months ago already? She told them that they should use the Bible when they discuss Israel's position regarding the Palestinians and the peace process. No one took it seriously, of course. You cannot come with the Bible to tell Obama or anybody else, even you, that we are This is the proof that we are right.